not know why I'm doing this.
Well, it got caught on camera, officially.
Excellent.
Live. Hi, everyone. Welcome to tonight's episode of Andromeda Adventures. Tonight, we're going to be doing just a little bit of a geeking out. Several players, obviously the ones that are not here, could not make it tonight, unfortunately. We wish them the best and all the pursuits and things that they're going through. So, give them your best.
And we will rain hellfire upon them.
Not sure that's giving them our best, but okay.
Hellfire!
Maybe Dezka's hammer can finally hit them. Get them.
No, now they're getting away scot-free.
Yeah, that's
but
a
what
free
we would
pass.
like to do is invite all of our viewers into the chat. Please come join us in the chat. Say hello. We're going to be talking some topics, whatever comes up about game. But we would like to know from our audience and you guys what questions you have, about what's been going on in game, what the characters are thinking, ideas, plots, any questions that you have to any of us that are here. Please post them, hit us with them so we can discuss them, or any topics that you want to discuss about either the campaign so far, the characters, or D&D and role-playing in general, our role-playing philosophy. I do believe all of us here have GM'd. I'm not entirely sure about you, James, but I'm pretty sure.
Back in my teenage years, I did GM. Not since. I would love the opportunity to do so again at some point, though.
But to get the conversation started and to get rolling, now that we've left the Terminator behind, why don't we briefly discuss... James, I think you might be muted. You were mouthing something and saying something, but couldn't hear.
1 sec.
There we go. You're good. Maybe you were just
I did not
just
unmute.
quiet.
That was very strange. Okay.
But why don't we start with... You guys had a pretty intense encounter last episode with Shemshimi inside the La Lucio library. And how are your characters really processing that situation and what happened? I know, James, you kind of came in at the tail end there to kind of experience the horrifying situation that the group had found itself in when they just wanted to get some research done.
Yes, I quite like the idea of just coming out of a sort of musical daze and discovering the horror that he was in the middle of.
He was just singing hi-ho, hi-ho, like any good dwarf, and suddenly shit was going to hell.
But yeah, what are Magnar? How did Magnar feel during that situation, coming out of that musical haze, kind of forgetting where they had ended up and going into this horrible situation and how it played out?
I mean, there was the realization that the singing was a key part, and he was trying to make the gags early on. Not that I don't think that would have been of any use, but started making them. Although Nick, you nicked them almost as soon as I'd made them.
Well, you were possessed.
I instantly got possessed.
I stand by that decision.
But then there was this broken book, and the idea that fixing the book might reveal the end of the story and might sort of give us a way to do it. And so Magnar sort of settles down, gets his tools, starts taking apart his own contraptions to try and fix it. And then the party decides, I think, to A, hit the book, B,
that was Wastora. Wastora
blow up the table.
Also Wastora.
Addis landed on the table, I think, and destroyed the table. And then, just in case there was anything salvageable from the book, you dropped a bookcase on it.
On the ghost, but yes.
Well, and the room, pretty much. And
yes.
All right.
Yeah,
how does Magnar feel about losing that bit of technology that was kind of an intermediary between the first stage and second age?
He's going to be... I mean, the dust has settled a bit, but he's going to be a bit pissed about that.
We're all pissed at Wastora.
All right. And now, Nick, why don't we talk about Hadrian's experience in the library and what he was going through, how he felt about the situation, and how it evolved.
I mean, so Hadrian obviously did not know what was going on, thought it was a very catchy tune about murder. But once everything went down, I felt terrible that this small child had lost her father to it, and wanted to sort of save her from going into the Ameresian system, which, from everything we've seen, is fucking horrible. And yeah, no, I mean, like, Magnar, you could cock your head, but like Jacques was terrified that if his daughter was discovered as having magic without proper patronage, she would be executed. And this girl doesn't have patronage, and
has magic.
Yeah, and Wistora, I will say, Hadrian is quite tired of Wistora's condescending nature at this point in time. He used to be okay with it because he didn't remember shit, but now he does. And the fact that she's like, you just care about this child because you're guilty, he's like, no, Gilles de Rais is a psychopath, and I don't want her in his hands. Like, that is, yeah, I do think that is going to be a boiling point for the two of them, because the fact that, and this is, you know, the fact of going behind his back to shit talk him to the Magisters was, that's a sticking point.
That got pretty contentious.
Without asking him is the thing. Like, she just said, basically, you can't care for this child. You have no idea. That was it. There wasn't a discussion. I, as a player, actually would have loved to have that discussion. I thought it would be really interesting to have that, like, no, this is why I care about the child. But we didn't.
On that subject, and again, for anyone just chiming in, please, if you have any questions or thoughts. What was that?
Oh.
We have a microphone and a kapow. Not sure it's a question, but
yeah,
the singing
pop any questions, you guys, about the campaign, what's been going on, or even just general D&D questions to pose to the players that we've got here, James and Nick, as well as your friendly neighborhood Frosty. But on that, have you guys considered bringing Elsbeth along as a sidekick, helping her develop her magic and grow in power?
Remind me, how old is she?
7.
She's
7.
Yeah,
so,
7.
So the answer is no. And in a meta context, I do not want a child anywhere near the Ameresian nobility to be used as a bargaining chip. Having said that, she's a child. If there's one thing it seems that I've learned about Hadrian, it's that probably because he projects guilt from his own kids, he will help children. And Gilles de Rais and the Ameresian nobility are psychopaths as far as he is concerned. So we don't want to bring her on our adventures because she would die. We also, I don't think, want to put her into the system.
Yeah. So we did just get our first question, and I'm going to ask you guys for what your guys' thoughts are on it first. But I'm going to read it out loud for the audience. But Arizona guy asked if, or Azig, sorry, I'm not, I'm from Arizona, had a friend that went by AZ, so my brain read it as Arizona guy. My apologies, Azig. But the Azig asks, will we ever see the potted plant again? Is it alive? Is it out there doing well in its own way somewhere? Or is it alone? Or has it found companionship? I'd like to turn this to you. What are Magnar and Hadrian's thoughts on Herb the Herb? And how they left things with him, and what do they think is going on with him first? Let's have Nick answer from Hadrian's perspective.
Well, Hadrian obviously hopes that Herb the Herb is dead in a ditch somewhere because very annoying plant. But he doesn't like anyone who's that much at peace with themselves. He doesn't trust it. Um, it doesn't go right with him. But if you're asking Nick, I think that Herb the Herb is carried to a nice little grove, and hey, man, he's just there answering questions about the universe to other plants, caterpillars, birds, and bees. He's just gonna be there forever, just until he becomes one of those Koopa Koopa plants for Mario and eats people. That's it.
All right, and we did have a response. Gembu thinks Hadrian could learn some inner peace from that plant. Do you think Hadrian would listen?
No.
I can answer that. No, he would not.
All right. What about James and Magnar? What are your thoughts on that?
So James is trying to remember exactly where because we didn't bring him on the caravan with us. I don't think.
You guys left him just before
Session
heading
2.
out into the woods. After Godric came to the caravan.
So he did come with us at the caravan. That's right. So
yeah.
So the mages, the law mages went off with the caravan. So he would have been likely back with them if you just left him in the caravan and they set off with him.
Oh my god. The herb is the professor of herbatology.
So that's exactly where I'm going with this. Is I think he's probably managed to enroll himself thanks to the law mages who've given him an honorary title just to get him to shut up and be quiet and away from somewhere, and is now we're gonna come across Professor Herb at some point in the future.
All right. Well, and I will answer the question. So, like, my friend, the guy who was carrying me, like, he totally just went off with this Godric dude, man. And he was carrying me around, and we were trying to be chill and, helping him out and stuff. And, man, that dude's got some issues, some anger from his past. And I was just trying to talk to the people, but he was helping the sick, and they were all like upset about stuff, and had a bunch of saying, I'm a herb, I'm an herb, so I was just telling him, chill out, relax, and be cool. And then some crazy guy like showed up and started fireballing all the stuff. Yeah, man. Yeah, the Azig, like, he had some really deep-rooted, anger. And yeah, he just needs to lift up those roots. But sadly, man, that fireball that came and hit the tent, I was there, man.
Oh, no!
And now, I'm ascended, transcended, and just drifting in the mist, man, drifting in the wind. And that is the fate of Herb the Herb.
Suspect Nick and Hadrian are somewhat really...
Toast to Herb the Herb. May he never be forgotten.
May he rot, I suppose. May he feed further plants who are not sentient.
At least that was how I had planned it playing out. That was kind of the logical flow of things. But I actually I hadn't thought of James's interpretation, and I'm really thinking I might change that story since it hasn't actually happened and nothing was discovered. Totally change the canon and have Herb the Herb as the herbology teacher at Strixhaven.
Hey, man, you gotta water the seeds to see them grow, man.
But I think that brings us to another topic, and again, please chime in with any questions you have about it, but how are Hadrian and Magnar processing what they've gone through since being in Amaris? Like, a lot's happened.
Not well.
And they've been kind of getting strung along by fate a little bit. So, like, or whoever the mysterious lady is. So one, who do you think the mysterious lady is? Who does Magnar and Hadrian think the mysterious lady is? And two, what are their feelings on being manipulated by this person or guided or whatever their opinion might be of it? Nick,
I can start. Hadrian doesn't give a shit who she is. And he is not processing being an Amoris well, but that has nothing to do with Amoris. It more has to do with the whole lifting the veil and, 1,200 years of memories coming back very, very fast, which it's hard to process. But I think that, like, as after that whole dream of the end times, Westora was very, like, she was warning us. And I stand by Hadrian's response, which is like, why do you trust her? She's probably a god of some kind. Like, why do you trust any of them? Because I do think he sees it as a manipulation. And I don't think he supports Godric. Godric seems like an asshole. Jill seems like an asshole.
Well, let's hold off on the Godric discussion for the next topic. We'll go to that next. But James, what about Magnar? What are his thoughts?
I mean, so clearly very opposite to Hadrian in terms of not being averse to the idea of her being a god, and being, you know, somewhat willing to be guided, and feeling that there really is something that we need to do and should be doing. Still very confused as to what his role is and how and why he got pulled into all of this. But that partly drives him to stay connected and to keep following the threads, and to understand the connection. And
what does Magnar think he was brought in here for? Like, I know he's confused about, but what are his theories? Like, where is his train of thought? Like, other than just the question, why? Does he have any thoughts on the answer?
So there's two things which are, I think, he spent a lot of time digging into the past, and, you know, to quote a certain TV show, all of this has happened before and all of this will happen again.
Good quote. Good quote.
You know, there has been a past God war. His interest in the past, in these giant machines, the mechanisms, the things that were possible in his god, and everything else. There's a fascination and a draw to that. But now wants to learn from the past, and to resurrect and bring some of that back because it seemed so powerful and could do so much to relieve problems in the world. But having that bit of a historical bent, and knowing the little pieces he does about the past God War, and seeing people of this age trying to become gods and bringing back gods, and then having this vision of the future in which everything is laid to waste. Is this another God's War coming? Are we destined to go through a loop and repeat everything again? And I don't think that's going to dissuade him. It's definitely not going to dissuade him. I know this from trying to get some of the technology and things back, but he's also a little nervous that these powers are rising and that history's going to repeat. and we're going to wipe out the Earth again. And so,
The Asig
yeah,
says Herb would know why Magnar is there.
yes, but what his role is, he does not know, but feels that there must be a reason that he is is willing for that to wait for that to be revealed, rather than to sort of go mad trying to find out what it is.
And James, why do you think Magnar was pulled into this?
I don't see the thing about the
or
fated
why
is,
do you think the various party members were pulled into it? Like,
well, Hadrian's the obvious one. You know,
What?
oh,
Fuck off! Why am I here?
You've always been here.
Have I?
And so
I'm not here anymore.
and sort of Westora's connection is obviously that much more connect with her presence in the ritual, and Hadrian's connection, to that ritual and changing the wording of it and changing how everything went.
So you think they were pulled in kind of by their own involvement as kind of almost an atonement or a chance to fix their mistake?
Yeah. There seemed to be a sort of direct connection to the story. Magnar originally saw Garth and Hadrian as a package. They kind of arrived together and seemed to know each other, and so for a long time, I was able to sort of, well, Hadrian's involved, therefore Garth's involved. I don't see that anymore. So I
Garth is an asshole. He's just been on the sidelines this entire time, just like, where? Oh, I've got a bear.
Well, we did get another statement. Gembu Knight says, just saying I would be nervous too. How do you defeat something that is a part of everyone? I'd like to ask you, Gembu, what are you referring to? This thing that is a part of everyone?
Corruption. Black stuff.
Please chime in. Or what do you guys think Gembu might be referring to? What is this thing that might be connected to everyone that you guys have to stop?
I mean, from what Hadrian learned, it was the thing, the primordial entity that is in everyone. This darkness that is in every person and everything. And is especially in Hadrian and Godric, but is in everyone. And I don't know that you beat it. I feel like you contain it, as Godric is trying to do, or you live with it. I don't know that you beat it.
Yeah,
if it's that intrinsic.
This entity that you guys have not learned much about. It's some kind of primordial entity. I believe you guys have, what do James and Hadrian, or what do Magnar and Hadrian, or James and Nick, what do you guys think this entity is that seems to have such sway on Hadrian, on Godric, seems to be infecting people?
From what you said in the session where Hadrian lifted the veil, it was a young primordial entity that was known to all. These feelings of darkness and wrath and pride. I think there were more words. It gave the vibe of the Seven Sins, in kind of an inky black form. Which, again, this is why I was saying, like, I don't know that you beat that. I think that it's part of the world. And I do think that it is something I've been feeling very interested in as Hadrian has remembered more and more about himself is like, if this is a thing quashed by the gods to maintain their order, then aren't they just delaying the inevitable?
All right. What about you, James and Magnar?
Oh,
It's a big question.
it is a big question, and I think I don't know that either my character or myself have terribly good answers. I mean, I think there is a dark. The idea of there being a dark part that's locked away in everyone, but I think the thing that it makes kind of visual is the idea that if that starts to come to the surface and if that starts to be normal, then it multiplies and it grows. And so, a small part of it locked away inside every person is harmless. But that coming to the surface and that causing conflict and grief and everything else will multiply it and consume everything. So I don't see it as just there's a small piece that gets released and it all gets together. No, I think the small piece interacting between people coming to the surface could grow and consume everything.
And with that, I'm curious to both of you. Couldn't hear any of that. I'm curious as to. Unfortunately, I couldn't hear you, James, with what you had just said.
I'm sorry.
No, not a problem.
Am I cutting out?
No, I can hear you now, but occasionally it went blank. But if it is this big thing that Godric is somehow connected to, or the embodiment of, why do you think Godric was curing people of it? Supposedly. This is both of you. Either of you.
For the same reason that Hadrian wants to help people who aren't the nobility. That I think that kind of anger or evil is much easier to exist if you tell yourself it's righteous. If you tell yourself that it only is falling upon the deserving. And Godric did very clearly say he was the embodied wrath of those who died in the Gods' War. So, if that's what he thinks, then it would make his cause that much more righteous in his mind if he cured people of this.
Selectively.
Yeah. But even as, and here's the funny thing, right? Like, this is where I can't say for sure because Hadrian has just remembered a ton of shit, but like, I feel like where they're different is that Godric is like, I've cured these people, but also by his very existence and declaration of war upon this country, he is condemning so many more to death. And that's...
I've always found him to be very contradictory.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, again...
let's get into this. Yeah, let's talk about Godric from a meta perspective. What are your guys' thoughts on Godric?
I mean, that first attack on the city, he's so concerned about
One gnome girl, one gnomish girl who Hadrian freaked out about.
Bringing a dragon and burning vast quantities of the city.
But this is the thing. This is why I was like, I think they're so different, is that I don't think Hadrian would be like, yeah, I'll get the nobles with a bomb, and I'll save this one person who got killed by debris because I can see them, and that's okay. Then we're all good. Like, that's the thing with Godric, is it felt like he was doing what he thought was right, and when he saw the collateral damage right in front of him, he stopped it. But beyond that, he didn't. And, like, that to me is the huge contradiction in his persona.
I felt that there's two of him.
Yeah.
There's this destructive force, and then there is the person present. And I think you're right. The person present can only see suffering directly in front of him.
And it's so interesting because I think that intentionally or not, the way that Hadrian's kind of violent, destructive memories have come out is very similar to that. That when he is in that state, he gets this kind of existential fuck everything mentality. But at the same time, what brings that out are very acute things.
Well,
right?
Gembu Knight just suggested that Godric has an out of sight, out of mind kind of perspective. But I'm curious if you guys think, do you think Godric is just that out of sight, out of mind, or do you think there's something more going on?
I will say, based on the wisdom saves Hadrian has had to make, I think that out of sight, out of mind is actually feasible. Not as in like, if it's not there, it doesn't exist, but that he focuses on the evils he sees in front of him. And he has enough power that when he strikes at what he sees as an evil, he does so much damage to those who don't fall under that category. But he won't see it.
Yeah.
That's kind of my vibe that I get from him.
So I'm not looking forward to the Queen's Ball.
I already have angel wings. I'm gonna go in there with a nice black suit and angel wings because I am a troll. So
do you guys have any other thoughts on Godric? And for those of you just chiming in, please feel free, or those of you still watching, please feel free to jump in with any questions you have towards the series or anything D&D related or anything about the campaign or for the characters. But yeah, do you guys have any more thoughts on Godric, or do we want to move on to the next topic? Is there anything you want to express or curious about, or yeah? Or I guess how do the last question regarding Godric, I guess for now, is how do the characters feel about fate asking them to confront Godric? And this is a great question, Keys and Locke. And I think we'll ask this to both the player and the character. We'll start with James. What are some things you wish you can explore more in the world?
Ooh. Yeah, I feel like we've walked such a small part of it so far. I mean, I remember our session 0 getting this kind of world tour of all the different regions and just how different they all are, and we've been in this small part of it. But at the same time, I'm not in a rush. There's the detailed state. The two cities we've been in. There's so much difference between them.
Like what? Like what?
Oh, I mean, I find it interesting because obviously, of having these conversations with the conversations with Hadrian in the game about and my cocking my head earlier about how well the girl would be looked after within the system. The poverty that we saw in the streets and help me,
Versailles.
Versailles.
Yeah, Versailles. And the seeming lack of it here
in the Emery's capital.
In the Emery's capital, and now whether that's just because it's being hidden away, or just because there actually is a decent welfare happening in the city, I don't know. The differences in the first city. Yes, you could use magic in Versailles, but it was very carefully controlled. In Amaris, we have a magical bathtub. The Spar had runes, sort of making everything like it's like free. It's like a super free, expressive use of magic.
And of course, Wisteria had to spend 10 gold on a bath for herself.
Yes.
Well, to finish off with you, James, from the Session Zero, what's the one region you want to explore or get to?
I'd have to dig back.
We'll circle back. Go ahead and take a dig back. Nick, what about you? What are some of the things you wish you can explore more in the world?
I mean, obviously, because I've had a hand in creating it, I feel like we should all go to Ul'dah. But beyond that, I would love to see Jeru a bit more, the sort of Fae-esque area. Honestly, I just want to get out of the fascist magocracy. That's kind of where I'm at. I've been there for 13 sessions, and I'm done. I'm just done. And Hadreian is even more done. Like, just Jill DeRay is no. Like, I to this day, I regret that Garth beat me on that athletics check, because I really wanted to cut his throat. Like, I would not have regretted that at all. Yeah, he's very bad. That's it. Murder. The solution to all life's problems.
And what's so you did already answer. Jeru is where you'd like to explore. James, did you come up with anything?
I mean, obviously the ruins of Isgard, or at least that region. And I am so bad with names and I can't find it in my notes. The floating city.
Aruk.
We just in the museum we saw that floating piece of rock from Aruk, and the idea that an entire city could float. So it's the ruins of the past that Magnar is keen to get to.
Yeah, Magnar. I'm right here, buddy.
And Gempunet says they think that the Ameresians capture the homeless and perform secret arcane experiments on them, so you never see them on the streets.
Magnar will be very disappointed to learn that true.
Hadrian would not be surprised at all.
James would not be surprised. Magnar would be.
Hadrian, actually, now all I want is for us to find one of those prisons for Hadrian. Like, so Astora, what do you think?
Oh God, and it's full of orphans, and oh God.
Oh, is that Lisbeth, the girl who you sent to find her? Is that her right there hanging by the... Oh,
and this was discussed in Session 0, but an interesting aspect of Ameresian society is that due to the necessity and the political power of each of the houses being based on how capable their mages are, with the most powerful house getting basically authority and rulership over the country, and currently that's the House Prismari. But they have a policy they call the Lost Eggs, where sort of in secret they find orphans or even people that aren't, like, that have magical capability or really strong magic, and will adopt them or pay the families to have the children to raise as, like, they were always part of the house. It was they had the child due to some affair, or they were actually part of the house. They're descended from some long lost branch family. Sort of excuses.
Just try and raise their power level.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Okay, can I just say, as George Carlin said, when does a kid get to sit in the fucking yard with a stick anymore? Right? Let a kid be a fucking kid. Just sit in the yard with a stick and dig a hole. Like, come on. Yeah, Nick sees it. Hadrian is not a fan.
Now, I am curious from in-character perspectives and out-of-character perspective. Do you guys see any wisdom in Amarisian's fear of magic and of it being uncontrolled and available to everybody? Or what are your thoughts on their perspective that they have that fear and their justification that they're the safe ones that can use it due to being related to AO?
I mean, both I and Magnar see it as just a power grab and control, and no, doesn't see wisdom in it. Does see wisdom in at least providing, possibly requiring education.
Sort of like a car license. Like, everyone should be able to get the license, but it makes sense to need a license to use magic.
Yes. Obviously not for, like, holy magic. That's entirely different. It's divinely divided,
and as we have seen, it's not like you hit anyone with it anyway. Like, it's very, very benign. Yep.
Well, I'm not saying that they have the right perspective or the wrong perspective. I'm just saying
no.
There's a wisdom to it.
I will say for Hadrian, trust but verify is an okay perspective on magic. Like, you don't want every psychopath wielding magic. The issue is that Amoris doesn't screen for psychopaths. They screen for nobility. And that's Hadrian's whole problem, is that I think that I don't think that, like Godric, he wants to tear down the entire system the gods have built. I do think he sees a problem with authority, like ruling by the example of your power. And that's what the Amarisians are doing. And it's like, we are powerful and therefore we have the right to use this magic. And Jill is a great example of that. Like, in Hadrian's mind, the driver's test would not be, can you blow up a bar? But if we put somebody in front of you and they insult you, do you blow up the bar? Or do you smile, nod, and walk away? And, like, the fact that Jill is deemed worthy of using magic because reasons is, like, whereas, like, a girl like Lena had to jump through hoops to not be afraid. And why Lisbeth had to jump through hoops to not be afraid. Like, despite the fact that Lena seemed only to want to have adventures and explore, and again, like, you never know who's going to grow up to be a mass murdering psychopath. But if Hadrian had to bet, Jill would have been an exceptional child in that way, right? We would not have run into him, and Hadrian would not have been like, "Aw, he's so cute, let me adopt him." It would have been like, back devil spawn. And
highly likely.
and that, I think, for both me as a person, Nick, also for Hadrian, is like where the doubt of Ameresian society comes in, is that
everyone else gets judged on whether they can use it responsibly or not. But if you're Ameresian nobility, you just get carte blanche.
Right. It's not. The thing is, it's they talk about it as in we are the ones who can use it responsibly. But what it actually is we're the ones who have power, and so the way we use it is responsible ipso facto.
Yeah.
Right. Jill's magic use is responsible because he is Jill, not because he uses it responsibly. He's powerful, and therefore what he does is okay. Whereas if Lena had come into a city and made a little beautiful flower grow, and
they
they'd been
would
like,
judge her.
Where is your ring license? I don't have one. You're coming with us to the stockades. Like, that's a really fucked up magocracy. Like, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, that's how Hadrian sees it. And it's why I think that this past session especially, we didn't get to completely explore it, but like, as a character, I don't think he quite understands where Restore is coming from anymore. Like, there is a to that trust that is hard to understand.
Well, and any other questions from the audience, please chime in. But I'm going to drop the next one. What did you guys think of the kobolds? From out of character and in character.
I thought it was awesome when I jumped across the pool and fucking decapitated him. That was it. No.
Magnar was feeling very sheepish towards the end of that. The innocence of it. I mean, he just sort of, that zone of darkness just before you go in, so you can't see what's happening, you can't quite tell what's happening, and so you sort of come through it and into the Cobalt Cave, and there's a fight going on, and
yeah,
you just join it.
I will say, like, Hadrian did not go in wanting to take heads, but he got shot 4 times the second he walked in. And they missed, but they weren't trying to miss. It wasn't like they were like shot across the bow. They were just bad at shooting, and he was better at deflecting. Like at that point, it was, that was a fight.
I forget, did you guys ever learn the backstory behind the kobolds? Because I believe Zazig, you talked to Zazig,
yeah,
the ranger,
that they were different kobolds from different tribes who had gathered under Durdos, the scary one, who
was not so scary.
Hey! I still maintain that Hadrian's 50-foot jump attack on him that got a crit was a badass.
Yes.
Quick time event.
He's fairly scary for a kobold.
Oh, yeah, but so is I feel like Hadrian should be like, I'm Hadrian, the scary one. You are my tribe now.
But what did you think about them kind of seeing the world as the bad guys? Because, like, adventurers coming and killing their tribes and trying to be these heroic figures that are getting revenge for their fallen brothers. Like, what were you guys? What are the thoughts on that?
Yeah. I mean, you saw towards the very end where Magnar was like, we're kicking them out of the cave, but like, oh, do you have any possessions you want to pick up before you go? And they're like picking up teddy bears, and like, oh god. Yes, very much the are we the bad guys kind of.
Hans, are we the baddies?
And have Magnar or Hadrian given any thought to Mommy Dragon getting angry that you've killed her baby?
Well, now I have.
That
Hey! There was no pheromone spray or anything. He just disintegrated. We were fine. We were fine, right? Like,
Magnar knows nothing about the child rearing habits of dragons.
All right. So Mommy Dragon's gonna be a surprise. That's some foreshadowing for you guys. Mommy Dragon's not happy, and can smell them, can follow their scent from the cave.
well, damn.
So when I was
wait.
saying that I wasn't, in a tearing hurry to travel and see, I might revise that. Yeah.
But wait. Okay, not to be macabre, but we couldn't even make acid-resistant armor out of the baby's skin if we're gonna fight Mommy. Like, come on, we should have gotten that opportunity to make that armor.
And next, what'd you guys think of Jacques? Because in another campaign I ran, Jacques got murdered by the party, and everyone thought he was an asshole.
I think we were the best pirates Lena has ever seen or heard of.
I'm trying to think how that could have gone. I mean, that's
it's interesting because David was like, "Did you know it was going to happen?" When like we were all arguing, and I looked around, I was like, "Wait, where's Lena?" And he was like, "Did you know?" I was like, "I hadn't played this encounter before. I'd never like seen this." But I was like, wait a minute. I'm a child who wants to prove my worth and is ADHD and like wants to go out. I would go to the boat and sail out right now. Like I would do that. So like I thought Jock was fine. He seemed to want what's best for his daughter.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that if there's one thing I've learned from playing through 2 encounters with children in this campaign, it's that I think Hadreian is all on board with. Who was the third?
Well, the town square.
Oh, the gnomish person wasn't necessarily actually a girl. She just looked like one. We don't actually know how old she was.
Okay.
How old was the gnomish girl?
I believe the gnomish girl, I believe, did look young.
Yeah,
I believe she was supposed to be about 13 for a gnome.
Oh, okay, because it's a gnome, so she could have been between 20 and 200. I will say, not counting that one though, one thing I've learned about Hadrian is that he's a sucker for a kid. Like I think he thought Lena was the bomb. And
what do you think of your pirate names that Athelina gave you?
Not a lot.
I mean, there isn't a lot there, you know. You're
I just left that one open.
All right, so I guess
mine was Shorty for anybody who doesn't remember.
Yeah,
mine was Blackwing, which I'm pretty interested in.
See, that's it. Blackwing and Shorty.
Stonejaw.
Yeah.
Green Fang.
Yeah.
Blackwing. And Shorty.
You gotta start a pirate crew. You gotta go off on a pirate ship now. So James.
Yes.
If you could ask Hadrian 2 questions, what would they be?
As Magnar or as James?
As James.
Oh, it's James. I mean, both Magnar and James would just pepper questions about Isgard to know everything about it. the gods. It's this hatred of the gods. I guess. Yeah, it's the very idea of God of there ever of gods even existing. Past gods, present gods, future gods. Is it just wrong that they should exist?
What would Hadrian's response be?
No,
Because you seem to hate all of them.
no. Authority can be okay. But these authority figures murdered my wife and children. And millions of my friends. And they did it because they wanted to be the top dog. And I don't think that I think that what Hadrian would say is that it's stereotypical. But if there's gonna be, and this is not saying he wants to throw down Ao, right? The consequences of throwing down the King of Gods are too great for him to comprehend. But if there was gonna be a God King he would respect, it would be one who didn't want the title so bad that he killed everybody and everything to get it.
All right. Nick, if you could ask Magnar 2 questions, what would they be?
That was only one question for Magnar. My first question for Magnar.
Well, he said he would ask about Ishgard.
Oh, well, I'm not as Javik from Mass Effect says, I'm a warrior, not a scientist.
I'd still, I mean, even if you didn't know how any of it worked, I'd still like to know what the society was like.
Oh, sure, it was amazing. I mean, we had people forged of metal, entire souls. One of my best friends, his name was Jimmy. He was a cricket, like a mechanical cricket with a top hat, beautiful singing voice. A wondrous soul. You know, we had various. I mean, Baymax was our neighborhood doctor. Adorable. Just ultimately, it was a society where like science built souls, and the divine magic was everywhere. The tower stretched to the sky, and it all came literally crashing down when a certain god king blasted the sun into it, and I was flying around and just you know how if like something really, really strong hits a windshield or a person and you see like that, like that was what happened to the people that I loved. They're just all over me. It does things to you. What's your fish's name? That would be my first question. He's a person as much as you are. He has to have a name.
So Magnar has
this
not.
Is an ex-fish. This fish is no more.
It is a revelation to Magnar that the creatures, the mechanical creatures and beings, were seen as souls, as alive.
You would get when Hadrian is asking this question that he is kind of fucking with you, that the fish probably isn't a thing that would have been seen as a fully human soul, but that it is still a living creature to him.
Would have been seen as a pet rather than a curiosity.
Correct.
And to this point, Magnar would only have seen it as a curiosity. And so the idea of it being alive and having a name is new and somewhat alien, and he wouldn't have an answer up front. But and would likely not seek Garth's advice.
How about fishy?
Fishy.
All right, second question, Nick.
The second question he would ask, because Hadrian is nothing if not blunt. So, how much prouder are your parents of your siblings than they are of you?
Infinitely.
Go on.
I mean, my father has passed, and he died, me being a disappointment to him.
Mine too. That was Nick.
My mother still lives, and she still is disappointed. It was
also mine.
An expectation that Magnar would take a tradecraft. And all of his siblings have. They work the forge. They make things with their hands. And each of his siblings and parents were constantly frustrated that Magnar would correct and suggest and point out where they were doing things wrong, and how they could do things better, and the things that he'd read about the right way to do things, and the techniques that they could and should be using, and would pay no attention to him because he couldn't do any of it himself. So he would learn all these things but have no practical knowledge of it, and so annoying and frustrating, and also this sort of unbroken heritage of ancestors crafting things with their hands and making things, and him not doing so, and instead going off to try and read about better ways of doing things, and about other ways of doing things and the way other crafts are made. And
well, he might surpass them because as he learns the ancient techniques,
someday he may.
As Hadrian hears all that, he put his hand in his like, "That's rough, buddy.
That's rough." I mean, Magnar does see what they were doing for all the pride they had in it. He sees it as
inferior,
rude and inferior and smelly. And
can I ask a question?
I would like to get and answer this question by Genbu Knight real quick. Genbu Knight asked, "Are there more of these curiosities, like the fish in the world, that are alive, and are some of them BBEGs?" And I will say yes. As a matter of fact, I wish I had a map. There are other mechanical curiosities, birds, trinkets. In fact, in a way, Harkle is one of those curiosities.
Yeah, the toy.
The toy that came to life, thanks to a wish. And there are a few others out there, and the party might encounter some that are good and some that are bad as monsters and creatures, or NPCs, or even a butler. There's one there's a Warforged that's a butler out there in the world that I've thought about. But there's also terrible mechanical beasts that were guardians of Ishgard, and that have and golems that have terrible things. And in fact, I wish I had my map. I could pull up my map to show you. But basically, where the Scavenger Lands and the Wildlands converge is actually where, up in those mountains, is where the ruins of Ishgard are, where the ruins of the tower are. And they are still guarded by a lot of these mechanical guardians that have fallen into disrepair or damaged, or unable to really process what's happening. It's one of the reasons why the Scavenger Lands and the Wildlands are so dangerous, is that there are these remnants from the mythical age lingering in the world and causing dangers in these areas. But that's why the people that head out there, that go and adventure into the Wildlands and Scavenger Lands, can make so much money because they can recover these ancient magical items and trinkets and objects and sort of, to use D&D terms, very rare magical items to legendary magical items. There's even a fragment of an orrery and tower that was used to teleport the entire tower of Ishgard across the world, that is still intact because of just how nigh indestructible it was. And plays a part in actually a different story set in the Endara world later in the timeline. But yeah, those things are out there and might be encountered. But Nick, what was your question?
Oh, I was going to say, for everyone here, in the dead pool, for which character goes down first, what is everyone betting? Just as a fun little Marvel callback. My bet is Barry, but Barry doesn't count because he's revivable, so...
So a bet that counts. And Gembunut, we'll get to your question here after this one.
Magnar's feeling pretty fragile, actually. I don't know. I think he's going to start making himself a shield and trying to protect himself a little more.
So one bet for Magnar.
Yeah.
What's your bet, Nick?
I would say Garth or Addis at this point in time.
I think it'll be Garth. I think he's crazy enough to get himself into trouble. And
Also,
I mean, yeah, off the side of the ship, he was, what? Unconscious, revived, unconscious, revived.
Four times, yeah. Also, he just encountered his archenemy, a book, which was kicking his ass.
Yes.
I was, yes.
You weren't there.
I know.
He has gone down the most out of everyone.
It was the most hilarious archenemy combat ever.
So,
Yes.
Genbu.
I think it's after I nearly died falling down a set of stairs that I feel kind of a little on the fragile side, but I think you're right. I think Garth is... I don't see Addis. He's nigh on indestructible unless he drowns.
That's the thing, right? It's like, this is also me as a player. I can see Addis getting himself into a situation that is not escapable from.
Like the water, like the drown.
Right.
Or a lava pit, or a god knows what.
Right. Or, like, he reads Smut to the Queen of Versailles, trying to, like, ingratiate himself and get
Queen of Amaris.
Right. And get zapped with the disintegrate ray. Like, that seems like a very Addis way to go. But... Hey, have you heard of this pears and parsnips? It's really fantastic. But yeah.
Yeah, and then Gembunite asked, have any of these mechanical entities become gods or wish to aspire to become one? Yes, as a matter of fact, the party has met one of them that is a lesser god, and don't know it. And it'll be interesting for them to discover that.
You know.
And there are several gods from Ishgard. Zakum, the god of lightning, the storms, and the sky, was one of the kings of Ishgard, one of the 12 kings of Ishgard. And Sophitia, the weaver of fate and reader of destiny and secret knowledge and mystery, she was a priestess and one of the spiritual people in Ishgard. And I believe Ohania, the goddess of family and fertility, was also Ishgardian.
No, she's not Ishgardian. She's not. She's
Oh, she was Ildanian. That's right. Ildanian.
Is Sophitia the porcelain lady? I forget.
No.
No.
Okay.
The porcelain
She was
lady
like-
is a servant of Sophitia.
That was it.
And it is the porcelain lady that is Ishgardian, and that the party has met, but doesn't know it.
Yes, when you said, and I thought
She's a robot.
that's when you said we have, and maybe yeah.
Yeah. And to answer a question and get at a little bit of foreshadowing, Godric was Ishgardian. We know that. But there is an entity that was Ishgardian that was part of that group that tried to become a god. That has not been revealed yet.
Hmm.
And I will drop that. What was that? Yeah, you can't hear you.
Not me, right? Because I.
No.
Okay.
I didn't say anything.
What was that? James?
I didn't. I wasn't saying anything.
Okay.
There we go.
If we don't have any more questions from the audience, please chime in if you have more questions. We'd love to answer them. But if we don't, last question for you guys before I turn over to ask any questions that you would like and wrap this up is, what is a goal and a goal for that your character has, and what is a story or adventure you would like to see your for your character? This is a big one. You guys are definitely giving it some thought.
Well,
Yeah.
Magnar's, with the last level up, taking that first step and becoming an artificer and initiate. It started off as, what could I learn the skills and the ways to make this fish work again?
Mm-hmm.
That just expanded massively to, can I make this fish alive again? And
That's a big task.
That's a big task, and that's creating a new life, and the idea that you can go from bits and pieces to something with a soul, seems to be sort of the ultimate sort of task of being able to forge and create and express, and I think that's I think that would be a goal. As for story, I don't know if it's going to come out in
Do you think,
flashback?
real quick, Gembu Knight asked, do you think a resurrection spell would bring the fish back?
I don't know, and Magnar would be fascinated to find out.
All right. But yeah, the story.
To be fated, near as I can tell, there has to have been a point when Magnar should have died, and did not. And so I don't know if it'll come out through flashback or memory, or I mean, the idea that there was a point at which he became fated and is not even really aware of what that event was. Is there a missing piece of memory? Is there some catastrophe that was going to befall him that he obliviously walked safely away from?
missing piece of memory. What are you talking about? Who
Yeah,
would forget big parts of their memory like that?
right. So that is
Who are you?
that is puzzling. Um, so that's a piece to fill in at some point. The already discussed the idea that he wants to to visit the ruins and
Yeah, I think that's a good story to explore. Is
yeah.
what was that moment where he was supposed to die?
Yes.
And I definitely think that's something we'll be getting into soon, of going back and maybe playing that scene out of what it was like, and when Magnar's ready to kind of look back on it.
Yeah.
Nick, what about you?
I think that in the words of the immortal prophet, Freddie Mercury, Hadrian needs somebody to love. That is, from everything I've seen in playing him, like, he gets, like, even the fact that he kind of projected something meaningful onto someone, aka Restora, meaningless, right? That, like, it was a person in the right place at the right time, and something in him is so attached or is so passionate about certain things that, like, between that and, like, his insane protectiveness of children, like, I don't know if what I mean is, like, romantic, or if it's like a kid or like a younger sibling. Not a pet. I don't think a pet is the right vibe, but like it could be like like I said, like a younger sibling-esque relationship, not a literal, but like that kind of thing. It could be a kid, it could be a romantic thing, but like
maybe the love of his brothers in arms.
Yeah, it could be anything, right? I think that from what I'm gathering and feeling as I'm playing the character, it seems like a personal connection is what drove him to extremes, and a personal connection is what would change and ground him. And I don't know what that looks like. It could look like nothing. It could not happen, and he could just be a murderous force adrift in the world until that ends.
And what's a story you would like to explore, to see with him? Adventure story that you would like to kind of explore.
I want to see him go back to Ishgard and find the graves of his family.
I mean, and
I don't know what that does or what it means. But I feel like that's a thing he wants to do.
I definitely think that's something the party might explore, especially with Magnar's interest in it, and
Addis
as Arcane. Get some closure. So for those of you just chiming in, I know it looks like we've got a couple of new viewers. We're asking the audience to ask any questions about D&D, about the characters, about the campaign so far, or to me as the GM or anything. But are there any questions you guys have? You guys want to ask me or each other, or any thoughts? Or anything you'd like to kind of dive into about the campaign so far, or the characters?
What's the most surprising decision we've made so far?
I think... Oh, that is a good one. As much as it was what I wanted, I think I was a little surprised when you guys decided to help Jacques get the pearls, to take that risk into shark-infested waters, because you were so sure you had to avoid the water and avoid this situation. And knowing that there was a good chance that people would die if you even went that direction, the fact that you guys took it on because you wanted to help these people did catch me a little bit by surprise. I think the other thing that was surprising...
I will say with that, Hadrian would have moved hell or high water for that small child. Like, again, it's not...
I don't think it was a big lift, though. I mean, to nudge the party.
Well, what do you mean?
I mean, yeah, I didn't feel like Hadrian had to badger us into it.
Yeah.
If we'd said no and started stomping off and going in the direction, I think.
Yeah, I do think it helped that he didn't ask. He was just like, "I'll go diving," and that was it. Like, yeah.
Well, and everyone, I was really surprised, but just how
so on board,
everyone jumped on board with that. Like, right away, there was no question, there was no doubt. Like, it was, no, we are going to do this. We are going to help them. I think.
And what was the other?
The other part that was kind of surprising was Westora trying to trap Godric, and get him caught by Gilles, utilizing everything that she had kind of put together, and being like, "No, I'm not going with you. I'm going to stay here," and kind of using that.
Oh, burning
using Godric's weakness that he wants to be understanding, wants you guys to help him. Really caught that situation by surprise, and I think even caught Godric a little bit by surprise. Only in the sense that I don't think he anticipated the betrayal. He saw it as this kind of legitimate chance to sit down and talk. But yeah, I think.
Yeah, he didn't. See
Hi, Mythical Family. Welcome.
I will say with that, Hadrian was pissed at that too.
Mythical Family, we're posing questions to the audience and discussing the campaign and characters and what's been going on so far. So if you've got anything you'd like to chime in and ask me or the characters or the players about anything in the campaign, D&D, the characters themselves or anything, please chime in with it. It's great to have you here. You guys are awesome. But yeah, any other questions you guys would ask? Nick, any questions or anything?
I mean, obviously, I have a lot of questions about Hadrian's past, but those are not things I expect answers to, so I will not ask them.
You have all your memory back now.
Yeah, you got your memory back.
Okay. I don't remember. He doesn't remember how long he's been alive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And he has been killing people since the Gods' War.
Yes.
Okay. And he helped Aldwin. Well, he hurt Aldwin. Well, he deceived Aldwin with the Black Blade thing.
Not entirely. I will say he didn't. He that's the thing that I kind of put in Hadrian's background. Hadrian is not a good liar. And I don't think he ever has been a good liar. And so he didn't tell Aldwin a lie or trick Aldwin.
No. He told Aldwin the truth, but he was persuasive in the way he put it, is what I mean. He manipulated him. He didn't deceive him.
And the thing is, I think I haven't completely fleshed out Alwyn. That's the wonderful thing about improv storytelling and role playing. You can plant little seeds and watch them grow into whatever they happen to grow into. But Aldwin was already corrupted and in a dark place.
Oh,
after Ul'dah.
I got that from the flashback. I don't think it was like he was a shining knight in armor. Was like, hey, that guy who forged the sword for you, you should go stab him. And he was like, yes, I'm gonna do that. And then like just went off and did it. No, I didn't get that at all. Like I got that it wasn't. It was madness. It's a lot like gravity. All it takes is a little. Is sort of what I got from that.
Yeah.
Okay. Has Hadrian had family other than his Asgardian family?
No. I don't think. I would say he hasn't.
Cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a lot.
You did ask about Herb. You did.
Yeah, I have many more questions, but I will not subject our viewers to.
I do kind of miss him.
You should bring him back. Just have Godric use him as a wand to cast confusion on people.
What did you guys think of Roxy?
She died before I got to know her. Because I that week.
Yeah, you missed the session.
But
you've watched the past sessions, right? You did catch up on what had happened.
Yes, I know, but it would have been to have a more of a chance to interact with her. But
yeah, I was sad about it. I will say I wanted to have more red light shenanigans, not like red light district, like the red dot sort of thing going on. But,
Nick, if Hadrian lost his good hand, could he learn to fight offhanded?
Yes. I mean he's already dual wielded once or twice, so I think he could just left wield.
And from a meta perspective, I'm curious, you guys. Feel free to ask. Is there anything about the world that I've created that you want to know, but not necessarily get to and play out? Is there anything curious about the world? Because obviously you're learning about the world as you go along and experiencing anything, and not getting into spoiler story territory. I can't answer that, but is there anything about the world that you are curious about or would want to know?
Well, I'd be really wary of wandering into spoiler territory. So
don't worry about it. I'll let you know if it's what. Ask anything, but if it gets into spoiler, I'll have to say that gets into spoiler territory.
So what's the big bad secret plot? So give us all the big reveals. Who killed who? In what room? With what weapon?
Westora with the wand in the ballroom.
No, it's Westora with the condescending eyebrow in the ballroom. Come on, like that's how she would kill somebody.
So, airships.
Thank you, Mythic. Yes, that's a great question.
Airships. With the current age, there are not airships. There were in the Mythic Age, and theoretically, someone could recover them.
I have to imagine with a floating city, you kind of need airships.
Maybe the floating city was just the airship.
Ah.
It was the Titanic that crashed into a different kind of iceberg.
The White Lotus. The killer at the White Lotus. You're going to have to refresh my memory on that one.
Which White Lotus? There were 2 seasons.
Oh, okay. No, I don't know.
And obviously I won't spoil it because I'm not a terrible person, but it was the butler. It's always the butler.
It is always the butler. But yeah, what about you, James? What's something about the world that you're curious about? A location, a region,
Mm.
historical fact, lore. Yep, Herb's offspring murdered everyone.
Yeah, I'm wondering if the whole of the old world, really did, because I know I think from session 0 that society had to sort of rebuild itself back,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm wondering if there were other pockets, maybe far more remote, that also survived, and whether societies sort of rebuilt itself
Actually,
elsewhere in
yeah,
very different ways.
Takama, or not Japan, as I like to call it. Uh, they lived in a lot of harmony with fair folk and spirits, and as they saw it, the kami, and sort of uh, they very much do not necessarily worship the 12, as they see the demons and fae and spirits and ghosts that linger around in the world as kind of the gods of the world, and always have. And the biggest shock is that their continent, their area of the world, was broken off from the primary landmass. And so they've been rebuilding and kind of recovering on their own in isolation of the rest of the world.
Okay, so that was something I was curious about, and it exists. That is interesting.
Ul'dah as well.
I was about to say. Speaking of which, I mean, if we ever get to Ul'dah, I can,
which Nick here kind of helped me flesh out. We kind of bounced ideas, and they're actually running a game set in Ul'dah. I've kind of given them the reins to do some stuff, but Ul'dah has very much been survivors, the people that survived the Gods' War, but lost all of the magic and might and social structure that allowed them to survive in the harsh lands of Ul'dah. What remains are trying to piece together and survive this harsh land that is flooded by undead and ruled by these basically terrifying tyrants, almost Mad Maxian-esque.
Yeah, I was going to say, think of it as Mad Max meets The Walking Dead meets Fallout meets fantasy.
Yeah, in that these lands that were survival alone, finding water, trying to survive, digging up these lost treasures and old magics are the only thing kind of keeping people alive there. And these people who have managed to seize control of what livable land is there, or bits of technology that allow them to live in the land. And have this very harsh life. And interestingly enough, they've been cut off from Lumaria, the continent you guys are on, because of Alduin. Because Alduin went down and supposedly, laid waste to everything and fought the Death Lords and came back different. The only interaction they've had with kind of the seat of civilization currently in the world is with the Guild, who are these criminalistic, opportunistic slavers and drug traders, kind of at their core. And it's created a very harsh where both sides kind of see themselves as the bad guys. Ulda, they aren't a struggling Shakespearean troupe, are they? No, the Shakespearean is Godric.
Nay, but in Ulda 'tis said, the dying are living and the living are dead. Betwixt those two harsh environments sits the truth of the world in which we all shall play upon the stage.
And
End scene.
And the nice thing about kind of world building, especially as you go through and plan campaigns, is I've left several continents kind of undeveloped. And so, should that kind of present itself, curse on both your caravans.
They have made worms meat of me.
Is that, we'll get to discover the history there whenever a campaign ends up taking place there, or the campaign takes it there. It could be sort of lost world dinosaurs and crazy fragments and ancient things. Could be whole civilization that's also risen up in wake of the Gods' War. That Bastion / Cutania was not the only refuge during that time, and other lost gods. Same with the Outer Planes. They're kind of nebulously undeveloped because they didn't necessarily. Some of them have always existed, but some of them were constructed by the gods, or taken control of by the gods in this kind of era. And hints at other primordial entities, like the Feywild has a lot to do with something I haven't necessarily decided is the Fey kind of come into being through imagination and ideas that decide I want to be a person. I sort of this nebulous energy that's like, I want to be a bird fire dream eater, and I'm gonna do it, and it kind of manifests itself into the world, and that's what the Fae, and that's why they feed on the imagination of and virtues of the people. That's how they sustain themselves. And the question is are really all those primordial entities from the Mythic Age actually all dead? Because there are at least two that are not. But are there more? Is the Fae kind of a source of this? Is the source of the Fae and that imagination kind of manifesting one of the primordial entities that managed to survive that war and being hunted? Do you want an Eye of Terror? Because that's how you get an Eye of Terror. Yeah, maybe I do.
For the Emperor!
Any more questions from the audience? Any more questions from everyone? Or any more questions from you guys? Anything else you want to ask me? We'll just give it
always, but I'm okay to lie down for a bit.
Yeah, I think we might wrap it up here, folks. Thank you, everyone, for chiming in and tuning in. We
Great
appreciate
audience
all the questions.
participation.
And if you think of more questions, let us know the next time we end up doing this. This is good question. This is a good question to end the night off with, I think.
Oh, God.
Is will Hadreian ever allow himself to find love?
That is... Oh, okay. So Frosty knows why this is a rough question right now. Yes, he would. He would. I actually feel like at some point, the further we go in the game, if he doesn't, the higher the likelihood that I would have to retire the character, because I feel like he would just keep going down a darker and darker and darker path. And I don't know what that looks like. I have as a player, not previously done a lot of romantic subplots, but I've recently discovered they can be a lot of fun and extremely painful, but in a good way. So yeah, he would.
One
He
last
would.
question to end the night. Is Magnar ever going to hit something with his hammer?
No, never. Because it's a mace.
Or mace.
Aha! It was a good question.
Regardless.
All right. With
He's
that,
gonna keep trying.
Hey,
thank you.
Hadrian offered to let you hit him. You missed.
I've already hit Addis.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Addis is a mountain,
But he
and he stood
absorbed
still,
it.
and he said, "Hit me."
Thank you everyone for watching. We'll probably do this again if we have a low player count and get some more questions with the other players. Good night, you guys. Also, we're going to be doing a narrative telephone reaction at some point. We recorded one, and we're going to record another one.
we should just post that. It was so fucking hilarious. The
But yeah,
bugbear.
we'll post our first one, and then we'll do another one. So there's that. Remember, please like, follow, check us out on YouTube. Check past episodes out on YouTube. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your goldfish.
Yeah, name that goldfish, Magnar, or it will come and haunt you. I
Have
know.
a wonderful night, and we'll see you next week. Oh, last thing, I do want to announce there will be a couple of days in February where we will not be streaming. I'll go into more on that. A friend of mine invited me out for vacation, and I desperately need one. So we'll be taking a little bit off, or they'll be doing one-shots. We'll see. But we'll see you guys later. Have a wonderful week. See you next Thursday.
Bye.
Bye.